Alina was rich and powerful, known across many worlds for her sharp mind and strong will. She lived in a high city made of smooth metal and soft light, where the air was always clean and the halls were always quiet. Servants moved without sound, machines worked without error, and guards stood without rest. Everything around her showed control, order, and success. She had earned her place through long years of work, careful plans, and hard choices. Many feared her. Many respected her. Few truly knew her. Inside the tall home there was one room that did not feel strong at all. It was warm and simple, filled with soft colors and low light. In the center of the room was a bed, and on that bed sat Mira, Alina's daughter. Mira was young, with calm eyes and a gentle face. Her hands moved easily, her mind was bright, but her legs did not answer her at all. Since birth they had stayed still, silent, and weak. Alina visited this room every morning and every night. She would sit beside Mira, take her hand, and speak in a quiet voice. She talked about stars, ships, and far places, trying to make Mira smile. Sometimes Mira did smile. Other times she only listened. Alina never showed fear or sadness in public, but here in this room her strength often broke. She felt pain that no power could hide. Doctors had come from many systems. Some wore long robes, others used cold machines. They tested, scanned, and studied Mira again and again. They spoke in careful words and promised progress, but nothing changed. Some asked for great payment. Others asked for more time. All failed. Each visit ended the same way, with silence and soft shaking heads. Alina used her wealth without limit. She opened secret labs. She paid for new research. She even broke old laws to try unknown methods. Still, Mira's legs remained still. Each failure added weight to Alina's heart. She began to feel tired in a way sleep could not fix. The galaxy was wide, full of wonders, yet none could help her child. At meetings, Alina was firm and sharp. She gave orders and made plans. Leaders listened closely to her words. None guessed that inside, her thoughts always returned to one small room and one quiet child. Power meant nothing when she stood before Mira's bed. There she was not a ruler. She was only a mother. Mira never blamed her. She accepted her life with calm grace. She learned many things, read many texts, and asked many questions. She spoke about hope in a soft way, as if it were something simple and real. That made Alina's pain deeper. Mira deserved more than hope. She deserved a chance to walk, to run, to feel the ground beneath her feet. Some nights, Alina stood alone by the wide window of her city. She looked out at the stars and felt anger rise inside her. How could the galaxy give her everything except this one thing? She had saved worlds, ended wars, and built peace, yet she could not help her own child. The thought cut deep and stayed there. As time passed, visitors became fewer. The best minds had already tried. Whispers spread that Mira's case was impossible. Alina heard them and said nothing. She refused to give up. Still, doubt crept into her thoughts when she was alone. What if there was truly no answer? What if Mira would never walk? One evening Mira asked a simple question. She asked if there were places they had not looked yet. Alina paused before answering. She said they had searched almost everywhere. Mira nodded and said almost was not the same as everywhere. The words stayed with Alina long after the room fell quiet. That night, Alina read old reports and forgotten data. She searched places most considered unimportant. Among them she found small notes about humans. They were a young species, weak in strength and low in rank. Many ignored them. But there were stories, quiet ones, about care, patience, and strange success without great machines. Alina closed the report and sat still. For the first time in many years, a small spark of thought formed. It was not hope yet, but it was something close. The galaxy had failed her so far, but maybe the answer was not in power at all. Maybe it was somewhere simple, waiting to be seen. Alina knew what others said about humans. Across the galaxy, their name was spoken with soft laughter and low respect. They were called slow, fragile, and behind the times. Many alien races believed humans survived only because stronger powers ignored them. Their ships were simple, their weapons weak, and their bodies easy to break. In councils and trade halls, humans were often left out or spoken over. Alina herself had once shared this view, seeing them as harmless and small. When the idea of Earth first came to her mind, she pushed it away. She told herself it was foolish. Why would a weak species succeed where the greatest minds had failed? She had used the best science, the strongest machines, and the highest knowledge. Humans had none of that, at least not in the way the galaxy measured strength. Thinking of them felt like stepping backward, not forward. But hope is strange when it is almost gone. It does not come as fire or joy. It comes as a quiet thought that refuses to leave. Alina tried to ignore it, Yet every time she looked at Mira, the thought returned. Mira's calm eyes held trust, not fear. She never asked her mother to stop trying. That trust became a heavy promise Alina could not break. Alina began to study humans in secret. She watched their history, their struggles, their failures. Humans had fallen many times, yet they always stood up again. They healed without advanced tools, helped each other without reward, and stayed beside the weak instead of leaving them behind. They were not powerful in the way Alina understood power, but they endured. That endurance caught her attention. She learned that humans treated healing as a long path, not a quick fix. They believed in time, care, and effort repeated again and again. This was different from the alien way, which searched for fast results and perfect solutions. Alina wondered if that difference mattered. She wondered if the galaxy had been looking in the wrong direction all along. When she shared the idea with her advisors, they reacted with shock. Some laughed openly. Others warned her that it would damage her image. A few said it was dangerous to trust such an unimportant world. Alina listened without anger. For once she did not argue. Their words felt empty compared to the quiet weight inside her heart. That night she sat beside Mira and spoke honestly. She said there was one place left to try, a small blue world far from power and pride. Mira listened carefully. When Alina finished, Mira smiled in a gentle way and said she wanted to see it. She said she wanted to see humans with her own eyes. That answer decided everything. Alina prepared the journey in silence. She chose a small ship instead of a grand one. She wore simple clothing and left her symbols of rank behind. She did not want humans to see a ruler. She wanted them to see a mother. Mira was placed gently into the ship, surrounded by soft light and steady care. As the engine started, Alina felt fear rise, but she did not turn back. The journey to Earth felt longer than any travel before. Alina spent the time thinking, remembering every failed promise and broken hope. She wondered if she was leading her daughter toward another ending like the others. The thought hurt, yet she held onto Mira's hand and stayed steady. Even if Earth failed, Mira would know her mother tried everything. When they arrived, Earth looked simple from above. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds. No shining cities in the sky. No massive defense rings. It looked unguarded, almost open. Alina felt exposed, as if she had stepped into a place without walls. She did not know if that feeling meant danger or safety. They landed quietly, away from crowds. The air felt different, heavier, full of sound and life. Humans moved freely, speaking loudly, laughing, arguing. No one bowed. No one stared. To them, Alina was just another visitor. That feeling was strange but not unpleasant. As Mira was moved from the ship, a few humans noticed and came closer. They did not ask for names or status. They asked if Mira needed help. Their voices were calm, their faces open. Alina answered slowly, unsure what to expect. Instead of doubt, she saw concern. Instead of fear, she saw care. In that moment, Alina felt something she had not felt in years. It was not hope yet. It was the sense that she had reached a place where strength was measured differently. She looked at Mira, then at the humans around them, and knew that even if the galaxy mocked this choice, she would not regret coming. She had brought her daughter to Earth, not because humans were powerful, but because she had nothing left to lose. And sometimes, when all paths are closed, the smallest road is the only one that remains. Tom and Anna were humans, ordinary in appearance, but their hands and hearts carried a quiet strength that few aliens could understand. Alina had arrived with Mira, unsure what to expect. She expected machines, loud voices, strange rituals, and a demand for payment. She found none of these. Instead, Tom and Anna greeted them with calm voices and gentle smiles. They did not ask who Alina was. They did not care that she was rich or powerful. Their eyes were soft, kind, and curious, focusing entirely on Mira, the small girl who had not walked in all her life. Alina watched them carefully, her mind filled with suspicion and doubt. How could humans, weak and untested, claim to help what no advanced alien technology had managed? On the first day, the humans did not rush. They did not pull Mira from the bed or push her to stand. Instead, Tom knelt at her side and spoke quietly. "Mira," he said, "we will take one step at a time. There is no hurry. We will learn together." Anna sat nearby, adjusting the blanket around Mira so that she was comfortable. She smiled at the girl and said, "Your legs will listen, one small motion at a time. We are here with you." Alina, who had controlled whole planets and ruled over fleets, felt a strange tension in her chest. She had never waited patiently for anything. Yet here she found herself wanting to stay silent and observe. The first week was slow. Mira did not move her legs in any new way. She listened, stretched, and explored the limits she already knew. Tom showed her small movements, lifting toes, pressing heels, moving her knees slightly. Anna guided her arms to support weight but never forced her. Alina's instincts screamed at her to speed things up. She wanted machines, treatments, and instant progress. Yet every time she tried to suggest an accelerated method, Tom gently shook his head. "We will do this with time," he said. "Time is stronger than force." Alina had never understood patience. In her world, speed was respect, power was proof, and control meant survival. Here, patience was the tool, not force. Day by day, she watched as Mira slowly became more aware of her body. She learned the rhythm of lifting a hand, balancing weight, and shifting slightly. Anna praised small successes with quiet words. Tom observed closely, making notes, adjusting exercises by millimeters, always attentive. Their care was like water, gentle, persistent, and patient, shaping the body without violence. Weeks passed and Mira began responding. Not fully, not yet, but enough that her mother noticed. Her legs twitched, a small, almost imperceptible movement, enough to bring hope without promises. Alina's heart leapt with joy, only to fall with fear. She had learned to expect failure, and even small successes frightened her with their uncertainty. Tom reassured her with calm explanations. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Watch her and she will show you. Anna added, "She is listening. She is learning. She is trying." Alina began to see the beauty of human care. It was not about speed or grandeur. It was about consistency, presence, and understanding. She realized that humans watched the person, not the problem. Machines and power could fix numbers and symptoms, but humans noticed fear, emotion, and trust. Myra's face relaxed when Anna smiled. Her body responded when Tom adjusted gently. Slowly, the girl began to connect mind and body in ways Alina had never imagined possible. Myra's days became a routine of repeated small exercises. She would sit, stretch, lift, and press. She would breathe slowly, focus, and listen. Each session was short, deliberate, and precise. There were no sudden shocks, no frightening devices, no alarms. Just patience, quiet voices, and hands ready to guide, not push. Alina marveled at the dedication of the humans. They returned every day, never missing a session, never complaining, never asking for payment. They gave their time freely as if it were the most valuable thing they owned. Alina could not stop thinking about this. On her home world, every favor had a cost, every act had a trade, every human connection was measured in benefit. Here the humans asked for nothing. They cared because it was right. They continued their work even when no progress came. Even when Mira cried or refused, they stayed. That simple act of persistence taught Alina something no machine or law ever had. Sometimes the greatest power is steady, quiet attention. Mira responded to this care slowly. Her hands began to support more of her weight. Her knees lifted slightly when guided. She smiled more often, laughed quietly when Anna told small stories, and pressed her feet into the mat when Tom asked. These moments were small but they mattered. Alina's heart, so used to commanding fleets and planets, learned to celebrate the little things. She cheered silently when Mira balanced herself for an extra second. She held her breath when the girl tried a movement without guidance. Each moment became precious. There were setbacks. Some days Mira refused to move. Some days her body felt too tired, too weak. On those days Tom and Anna did not push. They simply stayed close. They held her hands, spoke softly, and allowed her to rest. Alina learned that healing was not a straight line. Progress included pauses, frustrations, and slow recovery. Watching humans accept these pauses without impatience was a lesson Alina had never received in all her years of power. Over time, Alina began to participate. She learned the exercises, followed the instructions, and sat with Mira when she needed comfort. She realized that being a mother was more than giving orders or providing resources. It was presence, patience, and shared effort. She began to understand that no wealth could replace this steady care. Money could build machines, cities, and ships, but it could not build trust, kindness, or the quiet persistence of time. Tom and Anna never pressured Mira. They never compared her to others. They never mentioned the impossibility of her case. Instead, they focused on what she could do now and what she might try next. They celebrated small successes, a longer stretch, a stronger lift, a balanced sit. Alina learned to notice the same details. She cheered silently, held back tears, and whispered encouragement. This quiet celebration became a shared joy between mother and daughter. Mira began to talk about small accomplishments with delight. She told Anna when she lifted her legs, laughed when she pressed harder, and smiled at her mother when she felt movement. Alina's heart expanded with every word. For years she had lived with fear and frustration. Here she saw hope growing slowly, like a seed pushed by careful hands. She began to believe that even impossible things could happen with patience and care. Months passed. Alina noticed changes in Myra's legs. They were not yet strong enough to walk, but they moved in ways they never had before. Twitches, lifts, and tiny steps when guided. Myra's face shone with pride at each small success. Tom and Anna praised her gently, never demanding more than she could do. They treated every tiny motion as victory. Alina learned to do the same, no longer expecting instant miracles but finding joy in progress. Alina's respect for humans grew. She saw that their strength was not in force, machines, or rank. It was in attention, patience, and care. They measured progress in moments, not power. Their tools were presence, repetition, and belief in the person. She realized that her world had misunderstood strength. Humans survived because they endured, because they cared, because they stayed when others would leave. She began to think differently about the galaxy. It was not always the strongest or the richest who succeeded. Sometimes the quiet, steady, persistent could achieve the impossible. Her daughter's recovery, slow as it was, showed this. Alina began to share her observations with Tom and Anna, not as advice but as curiosity. She asked questions, learned, and tried to understand their methods. For the first time she felt like a student rather than a ruler. Myra's trust grew with the care she received. She followed Anna's gentle hands, listened to Tom's calm voice, and started attempting movements she had avoided for years. Alina stayed close, her presence steady but not intrusive. She learned that support meant guiding, not commanding. She learned that love meant patience, not control. In that quiet room, a small miracle began to unfold, step by step, day by day. At the end of every day, when the exercises were finished, Tom and Anna would sit with Mira, praising her gently. "You worked hard today," Tom would say. "I am proud of you," Anna added. Mira would smile, her eyes shining. Alina would sit quietly beside them, learning to smile without expectation, to feel pride without reward, and to trust the process of care. Alina noticed herself changing. Her anger, her need for control, and her frustration began to fade. She began to see value in small things. She began to see power in patience. She began to understand that sometimes, caring and staying day after day, was stronger than any machine, starship, or empire. She had spent her life commanding worlds, yet here she learned to command only herself, and that was enough. Slowly, carefully, steadily, Mira improved. Her legs moved with more strength and awareness each day. Alina wept quietly at times, knowing that these small victories were built on human patience and love. Tom and Anna never claimed credit. They simply continued their work, observing, guiding, and encouraging. Alina realized that their greatest gift was not just care but consistency. They never gave up. They never wavered. In the quiet of the human building, surrounded by light and warmth, Alina watched her daughter grow stronger. She realized that healing was not instant and it was not about machines or power. It was about attention, presence, patience, and kindness. Tom and Anna had shown her that, and in doing so, had given Mira a chance she had never had. Alina understood that the galaxy would never measure humans properly, but here, in this small room, she had seen their true strength. By the end of this period, Mira could lift herself more confidently. She could stretch, balance, and press her feet more strongly. Alina could feel her hope returning, not as a wild dream but as something real and earned. The care of humans had worked in ways no empire or machine ever could. The seed of progress had been planted, nurtured by patience, and slowly, day by day, it had begun to grow into something remarkable. Alina knew that the journey was not finished. Mira was not walking yet. She was not free of difficulty. But she had learned something precious, that healing is slow and love is steady. That strength is not always loud, and that care given freely can achieve what power cannot. Tom and Anna had taught this lesson not with words alone, but with daily action. Alina, once a ruler of worlds, now a student of care, understood that this lesson was worth more than all the riches in the galaxy. The bond between mother and daughter grew stronger every day. Mira trusted the humans, and through them she learned to trust herself. Alina trusted the humans, and through them she learned to trust the quiet process of change. Every day, every small movement, every gentle touch became proof that the impossible could be approached with patience and belief. By the end of the long weeks, Mira could lift herself fully, guided by Tom and Anna. Her laughter filled the room. Alina smiled and wept, holding her daughter close. The humans never boasted, never demanded recognition. They simply continued their work, teaching and guiding, showing that care, time, and patience could perform miracles. Alina realized she had witnessed something rare, not a sudden fix but a steady, growing miracle that came from love and persistence. This was the beginning of change. Mira was improving slowly but steadily. Alina had learned that human strength was different from alien strength. It was not loud. It was not fast. It was constant, gentle, and enduring. Tom and Anna had taught her that real progress takes time. Alina felt gratitude deeper than she had ever felt for anything in her life. She held Myra's hand, feeling her grow stronger day by day. And so, in a small human building with quiet voices and gentle hands, Mira began the journey of healing. Alina learned to watch, to wait, to care, and to celebrate the small steps. She had brought her daughter to a place she did not understand at first. But through the dedication of Tom and Anna, she had discovered that true strength is patience, and real care is the greatest power of all. The slow, steady work of humans had begun to rewrite the story of Myra's life, and in doing so had also changed Alina's heart forever. The morning was quiet, softer than any day before. Sunlight filtered gently through the wide windows, falling on the wooden floor and the mats where Mira often practiced her exercises. The room smelled faintly of clean air and warm sunlight, with the quiet hum of the building around them. Alina watched from the corner, standing quietly, her hands folded. For months she had observed every tiny motion of her daughter, every twitch of a finger, every small lift of her legs. Today she did not know what to expect. Her heart beat faster than usual, not from fear, but from a strange mixture of hope and disbelief. Mira sat on her mat, stretching her arms slowly in the soft light. Tom was beside her, kneeling gently, watching her movements carefully. Anna adjusted the blanket around Mira and smiled softly. "Ready?" she asked. Mira nodded, her eyes bright and focused. Alina stepped closer without speaking. She felt her chest tighten. She had learned that sudden hopes could break as easily as they rose, but today something felt different. There was a quiet strength in Myra's movements, a determination that had been growing quietly over the months. The exercises began as usual. Mira moved her hands, pressed her feet lightly into the mat, and lifted her knees with guidance from Tom. Anna's hands hovered, offering support without force. Alina watched, her eyes fixed on the small motions that once seemed insignificant but now carried meaning. Mira had improved steadily, but walking was still a distant dream. Today, though, she seemed aware of something new, a sensation she had not noticed before. Her legs, weak for so long, seemed to respond in small, careful ways. Tom spoke softly. "Try again, Mira. Feel your feet. Press gently. Take your time." His voice was calm, patient, steady. Anna added, "We are right here. You can do this slowly. No rush." Myra's lips pressed together. She focused on her legs, feeling the warmth in them, the pulse of life that had been quiet for so long. She pressed her feet into the mat. At first, barely a twitch occurred. Then a slight lift of her left leg. Her eyes widened. Alina's breath caught. Could this be the moment? Mira tried again. Her left leg lifted more clearly, then her right, supported by the mat and her arms. She looked at her mother, a mixture of fear and excitement in her eyes. Alina stepped closer, holding her hands together, trying to stay calm. The room seemed to hold its breath with her. Tom and Anna exchanged glances, their smiles quiet but warm. "Take your time, Mira," Tom whispered. "Feel it. Trust it." Anna nodded. "You are doing well. Keep going." Slowly Mira shifted her weight. She pressed her hands firmly into the mat, lifted her knees and began to lean forward. Her legs shook slightly but did not collapse. Anna guided gently at her side, just enough to help her keep balance. Alina felt her own legs weaken as she watched. She had seen doctors, machines, and countless attempts fail, yet here was something alive, moving. A quiet miracle. Myra's determination, coupled with the patient guidance of the humans, made her body respond in ways Alina had never thought possible. One careful moment, Mira lifted herself higher. Her knees straightened a little more. Her feet pressed firmly. She balanced, teetering slightly, but she held herself up. Tom whispered encouragement. "Steady. You are doing it." Anna held her hand lightly. "Feel it? You are strong." Myra's eyes filled with focus and fear, but she did not falter. Alina could hardly breathe. For years she had prayed for this moment, never imagining it would arrive so quietly, without alarms or machines, just with care and time. Then Mira lifted herself completely. Her legs held her weight, shaky but real. She was standing. For the first time in her life she stood on her own 2 feet. Alina's knees buckled and she fell to the floor. She could not contain her emotions. Tears poured down her face as she watched her daughter wobble slightly but maintain balance. Her hands reached out instinctively, afraid to let go. Mira looked down at herself, amazed, as if realizing for the first time that her legs were real and capable. Mira laughed, a soft, shaky laugh that grew stronger as she realized she was truly standing. The sound filled the room, light and free. Tom and Anna smiled, stepping back to give her space. They did not rush her. They let the moment belong entirely to Mira. Alina's cries grew louder, uncontrolled, as she reached out and pulled her daughter into her arms. She could not speak, could not move properly. Her body shook with relief, joy, and awe. Her daughter, whom she had feared would never walk, was standing before her. Mira took a careful step forward. Her foot lifted, touched the mat, and pressed again. Alina held her breath. Another step followed. And another. She was walking. The room seemed to glow with the quiet power of persistence, love, and care. Tom whispered softly, "Take your time, Mira. One step at a time." Anna nodded. "You are doing wonderfully." Myra's face lit up with excitement and amazement. Each step was small but meaningful. Alina's hands shook as she reached forward, ready to catch her daughter if needed, but she did not. Myra's strength was growing with each motion. The steps became steadier. Mira laughed more, her arms balancing, her feet finding the rhythm. Alina felt a wave of joy so powerful that she could not speak. She pressed her hands to the floor, letting her tears flow freely. For years she had commanded fleets, planets, and cities, but nothing had ever moved her like this. Nothing had ever made her feel so completely helpless and completely grateful at the same time. She could not stop crying. She could not stop smiling. Mira walked closer to her mother, each step deliberate, careful, but filled with triumph. She reached Alina, who fell to her knees, wrapping her arms around her daughter. She could feel the warmth of Myra's legs, the strength that was growing with each careful motion. Mira smiled, laughing and crying at the same time. The room was silent except for their shared breaths, the soft movement of feet, and the quiet hum of sunlight. The humans watched from a distance, smiling softly. They had guided, but now the moment was entirely Myra's. Alina pressed her face to Myra's shoulder, unable to hold back any longer. "You're walking," she whispered through tears. "You're walking." Mira laughed softly and nodded. She felt the strength she had never felt before. The world felt larger, brighter, and more alive. Each step she took brought confidence. She was learning, growing, and trusting her body in a way she never had before. Alina realized that this moment was not just for Mira, but for herself as well. She understood that the long months of patient care, small exercises, and human persistence had worked. Tom and Anna had taught her that healing was not about machines or power, but about presence, patience, and consistent effort. Myra's first steps were not a miracle in the way her world would recognize, but they were a triumph of steady work, trust, and love. Alina cried harder, holding her daughter close, feeling the warmth, the strength, and the hope that now filled their lives. Mira took another step, then another, moving slightly faster, balancing herself with her arms. Alina's hands followed her, ready to catch her, but she did not. Mira was walking independently, carefully but confidently. Her laughter filled the room. She looked at her mother and smiled, proud and amazed. Alina's heart swelled with joy, pride, and relief. 4 months she had carried worry and fear, and now, those fears were replaced with hope and wonder. Tom and Anna stayed nearby, quietly guiding when needed but never rushing. They encouraged Mira with soft words, praising her effort and determination. Alina watched, overwhelmed with gratitude. She realized that humans had given her daughter something no empire or technology could: patience, care, and the belief that small steps taken consistently could lead to great achievement. The day continued with slow practice. Mira walked back and forth, learning balance, trusting her legs, feeling strength she had never known. Alina stayed close, cheering softly, crying, laughing. Each movement was proof of progress, each step a triumph. The room was filled with quiet joy, not loud celebration, but deep and meaningful happiness. Myra's journey of walking had begun in the simplest, most human way, step by step, with patience, care, and love. By evening, Mira could move more confidently, her steps smoother, her laughter louder. Alina held her hands, guiding but not controlling. She realized that the process of learning to walk was more important than the act itself. It was about trust, patience, and the quiet persistence that humans had shown. Tom and Anna smiled from a distance, proud of Mira, proud of the journey, proud of the transformation that had begun. Alina knew that walking was only the start. There would be falls, struggles, and moments of fear. But the foundation was laid. Mira had taken her first real steps and nothing could take that away. Alina embraced her daughter, whispering words of love and pride. Mira smiled, feeling the warmth of her mother's support. The slow, steady miracle of human care had worked. The first steps were complete, but the journey had just begun. Mira's world had grown larger, brighter, and full of possibilities. Alina's heart, once heavy with despair, was now light with hope. She understood that miracles could happen in quiet ways, without machines or power, but through patience, persistence, and love. Today Mira walked. Tomorrow she would run. And Alina knew she would always be there, watching, guiding, and learning alongside her daughter. The news traveled slowly at first. From the small human city where Mira had learned to walk, word spread through quiet whispers, letters, and messages carried by travelers. Humans themselves did not boast. They did not send announcements to the stars. Yet Alina's presence, a powerful alien leader traveling with her daughter, drew attention. Observers noticed the change in Mira. They saw the girl who had been unable to walk taking steps, slowly, carefully, but independently. Alina's fame and influence made this story impossible to ignore. Across distant planets, in halls of power and council rooms, aliens discussed the event. Some laughed at the idea that humans, considered weak and fragile, could achieve what the galaxy's best had failed to do. Others doubted the truth. Could a young human child truly walk when all advanced technology had failed? Reports were studied carefully. The observers realized that it was true. Mira had walked. The evidence was clear. The galaxy had to confront a simple fact. Humans, small and underestimated, had accomplished what the strongest machines, greatest knowledge, and most advanced civilizations had not. Alina's presence on Earth brought a new perspective. She spoke cautiously to those who asked, explaining the methods of care, patience, and persistence that Tom and Anna had used. She described the small exercises, the gentle guidance, the slow daily work that had brought Mira's legs to life. Aliens listened, skeptical at first, but gradually they understood. Strength was not always power. Power alone could not heal. Humans had succeeded because of their hearts, their attention, and their willingness to persist without immediate reward. Stories of Mira's first steps inspired others. On planets where children were ill or injured, where hope had been lost, people spoke of the human way. They spoke of patience and steady care. Clinics and healers studied what humans had done, trying to understand the principles behind their success. Slowly, the galaxy began to appreciate a new truth, that not all progress came from machines or wealth, and that kindness, consistency, and belief could achieve results even the strongest tools could not. Alina herself became an advocate for this idea. She used her influence not to demand obedience or tribute, but to support human caregivers, researchers, and volunteers. She provided resources for clinics, training programs, and schools, giving humans the means to spread their patient methods to those who needed them most. She spoke of her daughter's journey, describing the daily care, the attention, and the steady encouragement that had led to Mira's first steps. Her voice, once used to command, now spoke of gratitude, humility, and respect. Mira grew stronger each day. After her first steps, she learned to stand for longer periods, to shift her weight more confidently, and to move across short distances without support. Every day, Alina celebrated silently, holding back tears or laughing quietly, filled with awe at her daughter's courage and determination. Mira's laughter became a symbol of hope, not just for her family but for all who heard of her story. She walked slowly at first, then with more balance, eventually running short distances, her energy and joy spreading to those around her. Humans continued to work patiently with Mira, and Alina learned alongside them. She realized that her greatest lessons had not come from ruling worlds or commanding fleets, but from observing care, trust, and persistence. She learned to listen without judgment, to support without control, and to celebrate progress in small steps. Her heart, once weighed down by fear and worry, opened to gratitude and hope. Mira's journey had changed her, showing her that even the smallest gestures could ripple into the largest miracles. As news of Mira's walking reached more worlds, alien societies began to rethink their assumptions. Humans, once dismissed as weak, began to be respected for their resilience, compassion, and endurance. Alliances were reconsidered. Children in need received care inspired by human methods. The galaxy slowly learned that true strength could not always be measured in ships, weapons, or wealth, but in patience, love, and consistent effort. Mira's walking had become a symbol, a quiet revolution of understanding that spread across stars. Alina took Mira to meet other human caregivers, schools, and healing centers. She introduced her daughter as someone who had inspired hope, someone who had walked when many thought it impossible. Mira smiled shyly but proudly, understanding the importance of her story. She saw the joy in the faces of others, the hope that her steps had given. Alina felt her heart swell. The galaxy was learning to value something more important than power: the human heart, capable of courage, patience, and kindness. On Earth, life returned to its quiet rhythm, but the impact of Myra's journey was felt everywhere. Aliens who had once mocked humans now sought guidance. They sent observers, students, and apprentices to learn from human teachers. Clinics adopted patient care methods. The idea spread slowly, quietly, but persistently. Alina realized that this was exactly what humans had taught her. Change did not come from force or commands, but from steady work, attention, and love that continued even when results were not immediate. Alina reflected often on her daughter's progress. She remembered the months of doubt, fear, and countless failed attempts with advanced machines and alien techniques. Now, seeing Mira walk confidently, laughing and exploring, she understood that true success comes from more than knowledge or power. It comes from attention to detail, patience, care, and belief in the one you are helping. She had learned lessons that no wealth or status could provide. Mira had taught her that even impossible dreams could be achieved when nurtured with love and persistence. Mira herself began to help others. She learned to assist humans with younger children and those who needed care. Her laughter, her confidence, and her determination inspired everyone around her. She became a symbol of resilience, demonstrating that progress is possible even when obstacles seem insurmountable. Alina watched her daughter with pride, realizing that the girl had not only walked for herself but had shown the galaxy the power of human hearts. The galaxy's perception of humans shifted permanently. Aliens began to recognize that humans' greatest strength lay not in weapons, machines, or empires, but in their ability to endure, care, and persist. The story of Myra's first steps was told across worlds, becoming a lesson in humility and hope. Leaders, teachers, and healers took inspiration from humans' methods. Slowly, cooperation between species increased, fueled by respect and understanding rather than fear or superiority. Alina continued to support human development. She built centers for patient care, schools for training, and clinics that followed human principles of healing. She shared Myra's story with leaders across the galaxy, emphasizing that success was measured not by power but by the willingness to care, to persist, and to guide with patience. Myra's journey became a teaching tool, illustrating that the smallest actions repeated consistently could bring about remarkable change. As Mira walked more each day, Alina saw her confidence grow. She explored new places, ran short distances, and learned to trust her body. Her laughter and joy became contagious, spreading hope to everyone who saw her. Alina realized that the true miracle was not just Mira walking, but the ripple effect her journey created. Humans, once dismissed as weak, were now respected. Children, young and old, received care that empowered them to overcome challenges. Hope returned to the galaxy in ways no weapon or machine ever could. Tom and Anna remained by Myra's side, guiding with quiet patience. They never took credit for the success, knowing that the real achievement lay in Myra's courage and determination. Alina learned from them every day, absorbing the lessons of care, persistence, and belief in the possible. She understood that leadership was not always about commanding, but sometimes about observing, supporting, and letting others grow in their own time. Across the galaxy, Myra's story became a symbol. It showed that even the smallest beings, the weakest species, could achieve the impossible when supported with care, attention, and love. The lesson spread to alien worlds, teaching that compassion, patience, and belief were stronger than machines, empires, or power. Myra's steps had changed not just her life, but the understanding of what strength really meant. Alina felt a deep peace she had never known before. She watched her daughter walk freely, laughing and exploring, surrounded by humans who cared without expectation. She understood that true leadership was about valuing life, nurturing potential, and respecting the strength of hearts over the force of power. Myra's journey had taught her more than years of ruling ever could. It had taught her humility, patience, and the profound impact of steady care. Myra's first independent steps marked the beginning of a new era. The galaxy began to respect humans not for conquest or wealth, but for their endurance, patience, and heart. Centers of learning, healing, and cooperation grew. Children who had been overlooked found hope. Families found guidance. Mira became a living symbol of what humans could achieve, and Alina became a living example of humility and gratitude, spreading the lessons she had learned. Even after Mira could run, laugh, and explore freely, the memory of her first steps remained sacred. Alina often recalled the quiet morning when her daughter first stood, shaky but determined, and realized that the impossible could become reality with patience and care. Tom and Anna's gentle guidance had opened the way. Humans' hearts had shown a kind of strength the galaxy had never recognized. Alina wept tears of gratitude every time she remembered that day. In the end, the galaxy learned a simple truth: strength is not always measured by power, speed, or wealth. The true strength lies in patience, love, persistence, and belief in one another. Myra's walking was proof. Alina's actions and humility were proof. The quiet, steady work of humans had changed lives, worlds, and hearts. Hope returned, not as a fleeting idea, but as a lasting reality, spreading across stars, inspiring others to believe in the possible, and showing that the human heart could accomplish what even the greatest powers could not. Alina held Myra's hand as they watched the sunset on Earth. Myra's steps were confident now, but Alina remembered the first day, every tiny movement that had led to this moment. She realized that miracles did not always roar. Sometimes they walked quietly, one step at a time, guided by love and patience. The galaxy, now wiser, would never forget. Humans, small and underestimated, had shown their true strength. Mira walked, and hope returned to every world that heard her story.